Hey guys, K Cameron here. Today I'm just doing a quick video on which single action revolver is right for you. About a year ago I got into looking at single action revolvers. I really wanted one. Started watching some Clint Eastwood movies, kind of got the fever, and decided I had to have one. So I started looking online, local gun stores, things like that, and I had a couple questions I asked myself. The first one was, which model do I want? The second one was, which barrel length do I want? And then the third one was, which caliber do I want? Going back to that first question I had, which model? After a couple months, I narrowed it down to three Uberti revolvers that I think will pretty much fit anybody's taste. At the lower end of the spectrum, if money's a problem, like it was for me. When I first started looking into these, I didn't have any money at all, anything saved up, and so I was really looking to get one quick. And the first one that caught my eye was the Uberti Hombre. That one's the matte black finish. It's 4 3/4 barrel lengths. Comes in 45 Colt, 357 Magnum. Good gun. Definitely, you're getting what you're paid for. You can get it on Gun Broker for $250, and I have $300 after FFL and shipping, shipping prices. It's got a flat, it's like a matte black finish on it. I've held the gun several times, and I'll be honest with you, it's ugly. I think it is really ugly. I've read tons of forums where people polish them up, and there's even a couple, how-tos for you can kind of rub away some of that matte finish and make it look more antiqued, which really appealed to me. I almost did that, but really in the end, that's a good gun. If you're not really wanting a super authentic single action, I would go with that one. It's really cheap. If you're doing cowboy action shooting, you want two of them. You can get two of them for the price of one of the higher models. Good guns, but one of the big things is I felt that as I was holding the gun, is the way it's machined, it feels sharper. I don't know if it was just the finish, but it didn't feel as smooth to the touch around the edges and things like that. It felt sharper and it felt more stamped out, as opposed to, I guess they're all stamped out, but I just felt a lot more, felt like it was something from China as opposed to something that was handmade, if that makes sense. The second model was just the regular Uberti Cattleman. That one ranges to about $450, depending on where you get it. I live in Idaho. I went to Sportsman's Warehouse. They actually have good deals here in Idaho at Sportsman's Warehouse on those guns, and it was about $450, and that's after tax and everything. And so it was pretty decent. There's two. You can get a steel backstrap or a brass backstrap. The brass backstrap's like $50 less. I don't really like the brass backstrap. I think it's kind of ugly. It doesn't really match to me with the rest of the steel. The black powder guns looks good, but personal decision, up to you. On the Cattleman, it's a good gun. Definitely, that one's the legend. It's modeled off the Single Action Army. But the thing that got me about that one is the action was pretty rough. You pull back the hammer. It's got a pretty heavy hammer pull sometimes. Just depends on the gun. Some of them have really heavy ones. Some of them have great hammer pulls. The trigger pull usually was pretty heavy. You didn't have to put a lot of effort into pulling the trigger, but it felt like, definitely affected my aim with a couple of those guns. And then finally, there's the El Patron, which is the higher end. The El Patron is about $500 on Gun Broker. And that one is basically the Cattleman, except it has checkered walnut grips, and it also is hand-tuned. They go through and they put wolf springs on it, so the trigger pull and the hammer pull are just great, super smooth. That really attracted me to that gun, and so I actually liked it so much that I eventually got one. That was the gun that I settled on, was the El Patron in 45 Colt. Great gun, like it so far. Put some rounds through it, I really enjoy it. The next question I asked myself were barrel lengths, and as we see here, I ended up with the 5.5-inch barrel length. I really like it. really, there's not I don't really see a huge difference. The 4 3/4 barrel length like you find on the Hombre, it's about there. It's flush with this part. It's, they're all, in the barrel lengths, I picked up the 7 inch, I don't know, it's like 7 and something inch barrel length, this is the 5.5 and then the 4 3/4. And there's definitely a difference in feel between the 7 and the 4 3/4, but really I just like this one because I like the look of it. I liked how it was a little bit past here. And that may be stupid, but I just like the look of it. And that's really what it comes down to, is find the single action revolver that you want. Find the one that you like. Don't go with the one, if looks don't really matter to you, just want fun shooting, get the Hombre. It's $250. It's cheap. You'll have fun with it. It'll be a hoot to shoot. But if you like the look, which was important to me, I really like the look of this, I went with this one. $500, and I like the super smooth action pull on. I'll show you guys that in a minute. Finally, the last question I had was which caliber. There are wars that go on about this in the single action forums, in the cowboy shooting forums. People are so adamant about you either purchasing 357 Magnum and shooting 38 Special or 45 Long Colt. There's no real middle ground. I'll give you my honest opinion. The reason I bought and went with the Long Colt was because I liked the cool factor. I liked the fact that it was shooting this big old round, and that it was more authentic, I guess, to me. It seemed like a little bit more fitting for this gun than a 357 Magnum. One day I'd really like to get a Colt Python, and I'll get that in 357 Magnum, but for me this round just seemed really appropriate. That's why I went with it. No other reason. A box of ammunition, I went and bought, a box of MagTech Cowboy Action Lows, just lower recoil. 50 cartridges was $38.99, and you know what? That's a pretty decent price retail. Online you can get a little bit better, but that's, they're pretty expensive. So you know what? I bought this also because it's going to get me into hand loading a little bit. I bought myself one of those Lee Classic loaders, and I'm only going to be making about 50 rounds a month. I don't shoot very often, but it'll kind of get me into that whole reloading kind of thing. It'll be fun. That was the reason I got this. If you want cheaper ammunition, go with the 357 Magnum. You can shoot 38 Special, but I'll tell you this: if you shoot 38 Special through this, it's going to feel like you're shooting a 22. 38 Special is going to have no kick whatsoever. It's going to feel like a 22. This gun is about 3 pounds unloaded, and then when you load a round into it, 6 rounds into it, it's pretty heavy. It's definitely pretty heavy. And, I was shooting these 45s, and these are cowboy action loads, granted, so they're reduced recoil, but it was nothing. I felt like I was shooting nothing. 9mm felt like it kicked 10 times harder than this. I've heard a lot of people who were worried about the 45 being a powerhouse round that's going to, blow their arm off, but it's not bad at all. A kid could shoot this thing and have fun. Obviously you could load some hotter loads, and it would definitely be a little bit better, but I like the recoil on it. It's perfect. And that's really, those are the questions I mainly had. So that's really what it comes down to, is pick the single action revolver that you like the most. That sounds pretty ridiculous, pretty obvious. But, after hearing some of those things, go with the barrel length you want. The Hombre is only offered in one barrel length, so, if that's a factor, don't get the Hombre. If you want to do some refinishing work, originally I really liked the one-piece uncheckered walnut grip because the grain was so evident in the wood, and I wanted to strip it and then restain it and make the wood grain pop and do all this stuff to it. And then I found this gun, and the checkered grips are really, really beautiful, and I like them a lot, so I decided on this one. I decided to keep this one. I like these grips a lot. They're super nice. But if you want to do some refinishing, get the Hombre. You can take some Scotch-Brite pads. There's a review out there on gunblast.com. You can take some gray Scotch-Brite pads, and you can rub down the metal, and it'll wipe away that matte black finish and kind of give you a steely gray undertone that makes it look antiqued. It looks awesome. I almost did that just because I wanted to do that, but then I eventually just settled on this. Really quickly, I'll give you guys a brief overview of this gun. There's 2 really good El Patron videos. They're probably the first ones if you search El Patron. I can't remember the guy's name who does them. He does a really good job, though. That really was what swayed me to buy this gun. But, the case hardening on this gun is great. Super, super great colors. I mean, it's got some blues in there. It's really uniform. You know, there's not just a single area that just has it. It's not a lot of the guns, the Cattlemans I've seen, they kind of have an uneven finish on them. This one felt like, when I pulled it out of the box, it definitely felt like it had a more uniform finish all the way through. You know, I'm not going to show you how to load it because I think that's a little ridiculous. I think you can go ahead and, you know, it seems like every video on these things, they spend 9 minutes showing you how to load the gun in the John Wayne style or whatever, and, you know, they're 2 minutes just telling you about anything important about the gun. You guys know how to load it. I'm not going to show you. The action's really smooth. Go ahead and give that a pull. I'm giving minimal effort there. I mean, it just slides right back. The trigger pull is definitely really light. I mean, you barely touch on that thing and it just goes straight forward. I mean, that's actually as far back as it goes right there. Really light trigger pull. I like it a lot though. My buddy, the first time he shot it, he pulled the hammer back and he had a big finger and he just put his finger in there and it set it off and boom. He almost dropped the gun. It was pretty funny. It wouldn't have been funny if he would have dropped the gun. I probably would have picked it up and shot him. But anyway, that's my review on the Uberti El Patron. I definitely recommend this gun. If you got $500, you like the case hardened look, go with this gun. It's definitely better than the Cattleman. You're getting a custom trigger job and hammer job, I guess you'd say, and checkered walnut grips for about $50 over the Cattleman. All those things, if you're going to buy them separately, you're going to rack up to about $150. I mean, these grips alone are about $70 just to buy an unfinished grip that you have to fit yourself. So I would definitely recommend this gun to anybody who's looking to get one. And that's all I got to say. Leave your questions and comments below. Thanks, guys.